Also, sorry for a lot of the things that just kind of happened right now. This is kind of a lot to take in for like an introduction video stuff. This is to kind of like disarm anybody of any danger that I might pose because the entire point of my room being like this is to disarm people of literally any danger that I might have posed to them because I'm just like that. So, what's going on here? Well, for returning viewers, you can skip this video if you want. Like, the entire point of it is to, you know, go and get to a new beginning here to try to get people to know a bit more about this channel and me. So, anyways, hi, I'm Ethan Benny2, aka Ethan. Just call me Ethan Benny2 though. And I am the owner of the Sutones and Bio and Sutones and Bio Extra channel. Because I just do that. Either way, genuinely really sorry, like, from the camera angle I'm at, that there's a window back there, but you're not going to see it, so that's kind of my fault. Anyways, so, like, I'm 15 years old, and in, like, the freshman of high school years, so, like, yeah, other than that, and though, I also kind of really like to design characters and stuff and have a bit of fun, which is something that you see a lot with my characters. Like, they're intended to be fun and expressive, like, all the time. You can also mainly see this in, like, all the art that I do of, like, characters, where they have, like, such fun expressions and designing, because the way I do my designs is like, if there's a character that exists, chances are I'm going to stylize them a bit and stuff like that. Also, normally there are more plushies up there. You can't see all of them. You can just see some of them. Like, for instance, off screen right now is Steve Luigi Boo, one of the bad piggies from Angry Birds. And I don't also know anything about Star Wars. Sorry. Super sorry. But it's like, it looks like this. Yes. Anyways, there's also a Goomba. And also there's a Freddy plushie, but I'm using that to hold up the camera because I don't want to screw up the camera angle, like, at all. It'd be weird and stupid and mean. So anyways, also, like, I was born April 21st and stuff, meaning that my birthday already passed and I turned 15. 2009 was just like a year, the year that I was born. I don't know anything besides Minecraft that happened back then. So, other than that though, there's also lots of things that I like to do. For instance, I like to draw, talk, and produce music sometimes. And I'm also actively working on like 2 current music things right now. Like, there's 2 different, well, I mean, technically different FNF mods right now. There's 3 actually, but like, they're all the same one mod, so, since we're gaming. And in case you're wondering why I haven't completely given up on trying to do Friday Night Funkin' yet, which is FNF in the long run, is because I still see the hope of potential for a great mod to be released and to not be like all the other mods. Not overly charted like Dave and Bambi, not filled with way too many mechanics, kind of like Mario's Madness version 2, and also not weird and terrible like Monday Night Massacre. It took me a second there because because I don't remember everything off the top of my head. Not not just weird and obligatory mechanics thrown into parts of songs, kind of like QT's fourth song before the fifth one that you play normally. And also kind of going with the flow, similar to Hex, where it kind of delays the whole change of pace thing to put it at the fourth song, where like normally there's the whole 3 song gimmick in mods, starting from like Witty, obviously, where every third song in every mod always had to make the character like get mad and try to hurt you in some way, like basically transforming during the third song. Except like I think it's cooler if you're like Hex and just delay that a little bit instead of just forcing it on, or if you really want to do the Woody thing, you should at least try to execute it in a way that makes a bit of sense, so that people don't get a bit more lost in the process of what's going on. And other than that, though, I just kind of find it a thing that every FMF mod, in their own way, kind of sucks. And the base game also redeemed itself too, with like the first weekend. Like it's not week 8, but I can accept new things anyways. That's the kind of person I am. Which leads me on to my next thing: fandoms. I personally don't mind fandoms in some way. I just think it only starts to become a problem when the fandom does things that normal people wouldn't who are fans of something. Like, I can consider myself like a normal fan who just sits around watching the content because I like the content and I just don't particularly care to be like one of the people who ships characters or does weird things with the characters. I'd rather just have the characters there and just accept them and do fun things with them sometimes. Which leads me to my next thing: characters, my own characters. Like they're all like with fundamental paper education, every character in Sutronic Section Bio is like my own OC. And just like with Katie, I don't like them being shipped. However, on my end, there are some characters who do have like that going on a bit, but I make it obvious for the characters who do instead of the characters who don't. Well, I mean, I don't make it obvious either way. It's like fun to do, to like constantly switch between what's going on and what isn't. Either way, other than that though, is like a thing though, where it's like during videos the characters have like one personality during like the normal video. They're just where they seem to be cooperative and just want to go along with the script. However, in like the canon videos, heavily inspired by SMG4's canon videos, and I mean heavily there. Like to put it into perspective, how heavy it is, it's like if you took like an anvil that's normally supposed to fall at like great distance height and are pretty heavy, except whenever you placed it down outside of like a literal concrete floor, it just break through the floor and just continue going down unless it hits like a surface where it's supposed to stop. For instance, the Earth's ground where it would stop. So basically, like blowing through carpets or something like that. Other than that, though, like, and I love that, where like you can be inspired by something that you like enough, just enough to like do something with that idea, except you also want to put your own spin onto that without like something properly, without like a pre-made choice some of the time, kind of like with Wattfu 2023, the except like all the time with me, where kind of where I basically just where for a while now I'm going to be deciding on what to do and what not to do, but I love that. Which leads me to my third thing. Wait, what? Yeah, you heard me right. Wait, what? Basically, there's a lot of things that I like to do, which is basically gimmicks. I Out of my favorite thing that I love to do for like anything that you see, I personally more love to come up with the concept of what's the gimmick, and like usually whenever I do something, I always start with like the character. I always start with like what the thing's about and the characters that will be in it, and then before I get into anything else, I immediately go to decide if there's a gimmick or not, which is usually yes, there is some kind of gimmick, and then and then I always have to like make the gimmick well explained to make sure that nobody loses track of what the gimmick is, and everybody has a simple time understanding what that it may be. For instance, with well, either way, I should really talk a bit more about the FNF thing before I continue with wait what. So Roblox and Roblox and Summer Gaming and Funkin for Dream Island and Roblox and Roblox covers, huh? Well, I don't specifically have to talk about like the fourth thing since it's still technically part. Well, I mean, they're all technically part of the one mods and Summer Gaming, but I'm still going to go through them in order of mod. So first, on that note, would be Funkin for Dream Island, which, as the name implies, is a mod for Battle for Dream Island, which, if you know anything about FNF, people really love to recreate things, and one of those things happens to be the Pip Corruption, which should have died already, but it's somehow still alive. Don't even ask. And I don't do that kind of thing because it's stupid. Like, our Pibby mod is the only reason why anybody even makes a Pibby Corruption mod is just to have an excuse for overflowing the charting with like gimmicks and stuff like that. Like that's the only reason I can find for people to make those. Like one of the song examples of this is Green Hills, which is Sonic Boom, which in retrospect, Sonic Boom makes more sense because everything that's in the Pip Corruption mod everything that's in the original Pip Corruption is Cartoon Network and Cartoon Network only. Yes, I'm staring into your soul, but either way, other than that though, is I don't feel like doing a Pibby mod because it's just stupid. Like, it should just die out already. And you'll notice as soon as Funkin' for Dream Island, like one of the first gimmicks is the background scenery of change, which is something that I love to do. Where I sometimes change the aspects in the background, element assets, like for instance, the Cake at Stake thing in Announced, the first song of Funkin' for Dream Island, which is against Announcer before you go against the two other teams that are there in the first season. Like this is one of the best examples that I can think of for one of the gimmicks that I love to do. Like I don't always have the gimmick there. It just sometimes happens, and the reason why it happens is explained on screen instead of just a random flash of white or black that then cuts immediately into the stage. I actually show the process of the thing that's supposed to happening, and then so that way it feels a bit more natural. Like if take for instance if Five Nights at Freddy is immediately right off the bat was Security Breach, then it'd feel unnatural and weird, which Security Breach is great at feeling, by the way. because you can barely get a grasp of what's going on. It's basically like smear frames, where it's supposed to indicate a really fast motion of some kind. And if you just make it really weird to comprehend, then people don't know what just happened. So by using smear frames the way they're intended to, then people can understand that like a really fast motion just happened, and which usually shows more work and delicate detail. Also, Doodly has like a great video on this. I almost keep saying the name as Doobly, which is an accent of mine. It's something that I do often in my head when talking about video scripts, which leads me to the other thing, but I'll just leave that be for now. And throughout the time that you spend in the first week, you already know that I love to occasionally change the character who's singing because of there being multiple people on like thing of which is supposed to be represented at the time. And other than that, though, it's not really anything interesting past the past the first week. Technically, like unless you want to count the gimmick with the puffball speaker box, where the entire gimmick is that the puffball speaker boxes notes actually go longer than they originally would for boyfriend's side, which you can see that it's a bit cleverly too, because the joke is puffball and puffball speaker box both have like this musical voice that they always use, which is something. Oh my god. Actually, if I don't fix the arrangement of my shoes over there, I'm going to get annoyed in this video, which I'm not supposed to do, as you can tell. I don't even think I was pointing at the wall-mounted TV. I was just looking at the camera, which is something that I always do. Whenever I record videos, I don't. The thing is, I don't look at the things around me. I literally only look at the camera, and because I can see the reflection of what the camera's recording, and you could probably see what I'm looking at through my glasses if you're lucky. I don't even know if I'm looking at the window anymore. Then, and obviously, you know that this is something I do because, well, I should explain. So whenever I record videos, like for instance, when I recorded the imagination videos, I didn't look directly at, like, I didn't focus on the plushies, I focused more about looking at the camera, because I didn't want to have to show my expressions or anything, so this is why I often look at the camera, because I need a clear indication that I'm directly talking to the audience. Except sometimes I just look around a bit because I have ADHD and autism and I get distracted a lot. And from the information I just fed you, I got tired of it. That's as a zodiac sign somehow. But I'm still a minor. My life is complicated. But either way, I should really be not talking that much and really explain some of my characters a bit more. For instance, me. Ethan Bennett too, as a character. Like, he's supposed to represent the most of me being my creativity, aka just me, which is fun. Suit 6 represents like a bit more of my perseverance and kindness, where I try my best to be nice, like as nice as I can be with people, and I also try to stay determined and never give up. And then like by is like the end where I seem tough on the outside, but like on the inside I'm just a goober and a sweetheart to some extent, and I just kind of hide my emotions a bit. It's not that I hide them a bit, I just have trouble showing them, which is exactly bio. And then next is Katie, who represents something far more cooler. which is something more important that I feel like everybody should try to use once in a while. Intelligence. I'm staring into your soul, by the way. Either way, like the thing about intelligence is, I don't mean it to be directly harming anybody who sees themselves as like smart in any way, because of the way intelligence is set up. But like, I do this because it makes the second character plot point where they where they can see like the things that nobody else can around them. For instance, Katie's sister, or Kate, who who looks kind of ghostly in appearance and always seems to disappear often, but like the characters with intelligence can still see her because uh, yeah. Anyways, also Kate is just like a character who's responsible for technically creating every character. Like the way that works out is like we send over like a character, or Kate sees it, then just creates that character from the things that I give about them. So other than that, though, I should and you know, I never give up, and which is what I'm showing now. Even what I'm talking about. Like, I don't want to necessarily give up on Fortnite Funkin and its community as a whole. Like, the only thing I would give up on is watching community games because they're just weird. And they have a deadly obsession over girlfriend. Trust me, it's not healthy. But either way, like, I don't see any necessary reason to give up on FNF because I know eventually one mod's going to save the FNF modding community and FNF as a whole, which I want my mods to be those mods. Basically, the idea is, with most normal FNF things, like, the more mods there are, eventually people are going to be warmed up to FNF to know how to handle other things. But that doesn't account for how some people are still new, necessarily. So, except for mine, which I the way my mods go is that they're basically just still is that the way I see my mods is that they're warm up mods, where basically if you're still not used to a FNAF at all, probably because of my reverse week, then my mods would kind of help out with that to help me get a bit more into the rhythm side. Like, my mods are supposed to be more on the example of what to do side, as well as like trying to teach new people who are new to FNF on how to try to make a good song and not to make everything overcomplicated, but also a thing for returning players to actually be able to get behind the wheel with the way of how they're not just made for the new people, but also made for the returning people. And the way that I mean this is that neither of them are still quite used to every mod thing, which is why I always tend to limit the amount of gimmicks and mechanics, and also don't overchart everything. The simplest way to explain this is just don't overthink it. Don't overthink the music. Don't overthink that many things. The only thing that you should really overthink is like the song itself, like the vocals, the background, background music, the like everything to make it good. And like you should also tend, but instead of just overthinking, you should also do a little bit of underthinking, where you don't exactly you think all too much of it. Basically, you should just stay in the middle of the line. Basically, you should be on the fine line of if you overthought of this and you didn't think about this at all, or it's just like some thought and care was put into it, which is exactly what I do. Like, I still, Like, I don't repeatedly do things that I know would make people uninterested in my mods anymore, or because of constant updates and stuff like that, and every update not being good. I still continue to try because because of my persistence, my determination. I'm always willing and ready to do new things, so I'm not exactly the kind of person who would just give up when someone tells me to, or at the drop of a hat. Probably quite literally too. But either way, um, and Sunday Summer Gaming has its fair share of gimmicks. For instance, the Persona Week, skim it. The way, you know what? I should discuss about gimmicks, I guess, before I just focus on what I was supposed to be talking about. Like, the way I see putting gimmicks into FF songs/mods is that don't overthink about all the gimmicks, don't make the gimmicks hard to understand, and don't overflow the mod with gimmicks. Like, every single song of it with gimmicks. Like, just a few gimmicks here and there, or putting gimmicks where they make sense. For instance, in Sunday Summer Gaming's Persona Week, where during Persona 3, there's the Dark Hour, which the way I execute it makes sense in retrospect to Persona 3. Persona 4 has the Midnight Channel and Fog, which is only executed when it has to. In Persona 5, and all of them have the one thing in common of the Shadow World. Their Shadow Worlds, Tartarus, Midnight Channel, and of course, Mementos, which the only way I execute doing and using one of these is by just not like executing them in a perfect way and in a way that would make sense to explain. And yeah, that's all I have to say there. So, what did you learn about me? Well, I'm just a silly goober who keeps persistence, hope, and a bit of justice, and overall is very patient. And I look forward for you to being able to adjust to my characters in question, and not myself either. Goodbye.